Hey everybody, and welcome back. It's Joel. I hope everyone's having a good day today. And I wanted to talk about the most recent episode of The Flash called Who is Harrison Wells? Also, keep watching to the end of this video because I'm going to actually show some pictures of the episode called Tricksters. And I'm actually going to put out there probably one or two questions. I can't remember. The main problems that I have right now as far as something else that needs to be revealed in the show that's obviously extremely important, and they keep dropping hints about it, but they haven't really dealt with it yet at all. So stay tuned to the end of the video, and I'm going to get into that. But right now, I just want to talk about just a quick recap of what happened, because tomorrow's episode actually is going to be, all kind of climactic, and everything's going to resume from what just happened in this past episode. So I'm just going to do a quick recap. So basically, in this episode, there's this new metahuman named Hannibal Bates, and he ends up getting the nickname Everyman because when he touches anybody, he can basically shift and his cells change to look just like that person. And even if they're physically small, like a child, or someone slender, someone larger, it doesn't matter. He's able to actually take their form exactly. Apparently he doesn't get their abilities or their memories, but he can look like them exactly. So somewhere along the lines during this episode, he basically ends up imitating Eddie Thawne and kills a couple of cops. Or I don't know if he kills them. Either they are almost dead or they did die. I don't know if they might have been they might have still been in the hospital. I can't remember. But basically, it gets caught on the camera of the police car, and it incriminates Eddie. So the Flash has to try to work to catch this person to prove Eddie's innocent and keep him out of jail. While that's going on, Joe and Cisco are basically investigating Dr. Wells' accident with his wife Tess, and they end up going to Starling City, where the Arrow is. So they team up with Captain Lance to get assistance, and they basically convince Lance to keep everything on the hush-hush, but they do end up finding Wells' body, the real Harrison Wells' body, there decomposing in the ground near the accident site, where obviously Eobor Thawne disposed of them, and they found traces of tachyons, and they were able to dig the body up. Before that happens, Caitlin actually almost goes to Harrison Wells' house and confronts him, and Barry actually does stop her. I think that's kind of a frightening point there. Obviously, if she would have said anything to Wells, he probably would have killed her right there on the spot. But fortunately, Barry was keeping an eye on her, and he snatched her out of there before Wells answered the door. But she was actually going to confront Wells and try to get some answers, because she's trusted him and worked for him and dedicated herself to him for so many years. She's having some trouble accepting that basically her whole career and life has been a lie, and working for nothing. But after that happened, Barry convinced her to kind of just be patient, wait till Joe and Cisco get back. So she does, for the most part. Also, there's a part in this episode where she seems to have a soft spot for Barry and allows herself to kiss him, only it's not really him, it's this everyman metahuman that touched, he basically knocked Barry out and locked him in a closet in his house and assumed his identity, and went back to Star Labs with her, and he finds out that she's working on something to take away his powers temporarily. And when they discover that Iris ends up showing up, before Iris shows up, Caitlin and this metahuman are actually kissing. So obviously, I think she's got some kind of soft spot for Barry deep down, because she allowed herself to get kind of swooped up there for a second. I don't know how important that's going to be. That just might be a thing that happened in this episode, and that's it. Who knows? But they end up restraining the metahuman, or Eobor Thawne, I should say, not the fake Dr. Wells, ends up using a stun gun on him, because they find out when Iris shows up and they all sit down and look at the footage of Eddie shooting the police officers, and he's using his left hand. So they know that Eddie's not left-handed. And when Wells sees Barry pulling out this gun from behind his back with his left hand, he stuns him with a stun gun. And then they restrain him, and they go and they uh, put him in a car, and they're driving back. I don't even know where they're going, to be honest. I don't know if they're taking him back to the police station or what. They could have just called the cops, but for whatever reason, they're driving him by themselves. So he takes the form of his little girl while they're at a traffic light and pretends like he's getting kidnapped. And so these construction workers let him out, and then he gets away. And basically, at the end of the day, the Flash ends up catching him because they find out that he can't duplicate people's powers. He can only just look like them. So Barry doesn't have anything to worry about him stealing his super speed powers. So he goes ahead and confronts him, and he takes him down with the cocktail that Caitlin made to take away his powers. Eddie gets cleared, and everything's okay, except at the end he feels compelled to tell Iris that he really was working with the Flash after all. He didn't go any further than that. He didn't tell her who the Flash was, or that her life was at stake because they were investigating the Reverse Flash, or that Dr. Wells might be the Reverse Flash. He didn't go into any of that. So one can only, we just got to wait and see if he actually is willing to go that far and say anything else about it, or he might just be telling her that part that he's been working with the Flash just to get her to back off a little bit and make her feel more confident with their relationship. I don't know. But it was a pretty good episode overall, I thought. We got to see, Barry use his powers a little bit. But the main thing out of this was that, everyone knows now by the end that that's definitely not Dr. Wells. They got Dr. Wells' corpse sitting there in a lab, and they know it's him. So at this point, we've seen the teasers for the upcoming episode tomorrow. We know, or at least I'm pretty sure it's tomorrow. Hopefully they're not skipping a week again. But they know that, it's not him. So there's going to be this big confrontation. We see the teasers with Cisco screaming, "No!" Like Reverse Flash is going to stab him in his heart again, I think that I think it's not going to happen again this time. I think Barry's going to get a chance to save him. I think that they're all going to team up, and work together to basically put him on a spot or entrap him in some way. I don't know. But the bottom line is that I don't think Eobor Thawne's really going to get what he wants out of Barry. So he's probably going to have to take it by force, because we know that Eobor needs Barry's speed in some way in order to get back to the future where he belongs, to 2024. Or actually, no, 2024 is just the date from the newspaper article that Barry and Caitlin and Cisco all saw when they found Eobor's hidden compartment in Star Labs. And when they walked in, they saw the Reverse Flash suit. They looked around; everything looked all weird and futuristic and crazy looking. And then you see the display come up, and they see the image of the news article from 2024 when the Flash is missing after the crisis. So at this point, not only do they know that they don't know him by name, I guess, unless they're able to find something else in his room, but they know that whoever is impersonating Dr. Wells is obviously from the future, has something to do with the future. So I think that's going to also give them some more information. But I think it's also going to open up the door to have them try and find out, because obviously this is Barry we're talking about here. He's just seen a newspaper article from the future showing that he went missing. Obviously he's going to want to find out what happened. And the number one thing, and this is going to lead up to what I was going to talk about it towards the end of the video here, is when we saw the episode titled Tricksters, with Mark Hamill playing the Trickster and his son Axel, we saw that in the opening scene where the Reverse Flash and Barry come through the time portal 15 years ago, and they actually enter into Barry's old house. When all that stuff was going on, basically the Reverse Flash ends up losing his powers, and he gets stranded in that time because he can no longer travel in time. So we know that he never returned, and we know what he's been up to the whole time. But obviously, based on the newspaper article from 2024, the Flash is missing too, so obviously he never returned. And in that opening scene, we're shown a glimpse of what happens to the Flash, but it's completely inconclusive. We have no idea what happened to him, and that's what I'm going to get into next. So, I'm going to have some pictures showing up here as I'm talking, so you can follow along with what I'm saying. But if you need to go in and refresh yourself, by all means, use your DVR or go on demand or go online and watch the previous episode of The Flash, Tricksters, and then you'll be able to watch the opening scene and see and just kind of confirm what I'm saying here. But basically, what happens is in the opening scene, we show that we see the Reverse Flash and Barry come through the time portal. They both enter in Barry's house when he's a kid. They're in there fighting. They're surrounding Barry's mother. You know, she's on the ground, and they're going at it with each other. And then we see the Reverse Flash reaching his. He kind of stomps on Barry against the wall, and he lunges at this younger Barry like he's trying to grab him, because we know that he was trying to kill him. If you kill Barry as a child, then you kill the Flash. So we see the Reverse Flash reaching out with both hands to snatch and grab Barry as a child, but Barry, you know, the adult Barry, you know, does this super guile kick from Street Fighter, Sonic Boom kick, and kicks him out of the way just in the nick of time. Then it kind of cuts back to current time, and you know, everything happens with Axel impersonating the Trickster and tricking everybody with the parachute bombs. Then you know, Barry kind of shows some attitude towards Wells and says, you know, makes a comment like, you know, that the Trickster was a terror. He terrorized everybody until the particle accelerator blew up or something like that. And Dr. Wells is kind of asking Joe what's wrong with Barry because he seemed a little touchy or something like that. After that scene, then it cuts back to 15 years ago again. Once that happens, we see that the yellow and red flashes of light are still going around Barry's mom. Barry's dad grabs Barry and tells him, "Run, Barry, run." Right after that, the grown adult Flash takes the younger Barry outside. As soon as he drops him off outside, the younger Barry is kind of stunned and looking around because he just got outside in a flash, like probably blocks away from his house. And as soon as that happens, Barry leaves and kind of goes behind him, and then all you see are these, it almost looks like Barry enters in the electrical system through the street pole, because it doesn't look like he runs down the street. You see his flash of yellow lightning kind of head towards the corner, and all you see are these sparks shooting off the what is it, the probably, you know, like the on the street with the power, the transformer or something like that. All you see are these sparks coming from it, and the sparks just kind of pop, and they're in the air, and then they just all drop to the ground. You know, like everything just got blown or shorted out. And younger Barry's like kind of looking behind him like, whoa, what the heck just happened? Then, next thing you know, the Reverse Flash comes running out of the house, and now he's running down the street. It's really disorienting because you can't really tell if he's running down the same street that the Flash went, or if he's running down a completely different street. But for whatever reason, he's running. So you have to assume he's looking for the Flash, I guess. But it's really unclear at this point because we don't know. I couldn't see or make out any street signs because everything happened so quickly. And you just see the boy, Barry gets dropped off by the Flash. The Flash disappears in a bunch of sparks in a street pole. The Reverse Flash is coming out. He's running down the street, running at apparently nothing because the Flash is gone. So I don't know where the Reverse Flash is going, but I have to assume he's going after Barry. But anyway, he's running. He starts losing his powers and spinning out of control all over the ground. Then next thing you know, he's trying to ask Gideon what the heck's going on, and Gideon tells him that he has no more Speed Force in his cells, and he's stuck there and he can't get back. So then the Reverse Flash freaks the heck out, rips his mask off, and we see he doesn't even look like Wells. He looks like he's some blonde dude with a cleft in his chin, you know, that nobody even knows who the heck he is. Obviously, anyone that's followed the comics knows that Eobard Thawne is typically drawn as this blonde-haired dude from the future. And we know that Eddie in the current time is blonde-haired, so it kind of makes sense that if he's Eobard Thawne, that he probably looks a little bit like the way Eddie looks now. So, you know, that kind of all makes sense. And it's also clever because in the comics, Eobard did get cosmetic surgery to make him, but in the comics, he got his face altered because he was such a fan of the Flash, and he went back in time to meet the Flash and to help him and to be accepted by him. You know, he basically did everything. You know, discovered the Speed Force and duplicated gave himself the powers that enabled Barry to become the Flash. So he uses those powers to go back in time, and he gets plastic surgery, or cosmetic surgery on his face and everything to make himself look like Barry. He's so obsessed with him, and such a huge fan that's why he does it. Now I'm glad that they took this approach in the show, because it's still altering his face, but for a completely different reason. He's actually now stranded in time, and he had to assume the identity and life of Dr. Wells in order to take control of that particle accelerator and make Barry become the Flash sooner than he did in the alternate timeline. So I kind of like that they did that. It's kind of paying homage to the comics, and it allows viewers to get thrown off a little bit, because it even fooled me. I didn't really expect that. We've all been wondering who Dr. Wells even was this whole time. We didn't know if he was Hunter Zolomon or Eobard Thawne, if that's the way he was supposed to look, or if there was two Reverse Flashes or what. And we all got thoroughly deceived in some way during this season, this series so far, because the writers are doing a good job, I think. But my main question is, after said all this, is where the heck is Barry Allen? We know now at the end of the last episode, Barry, Cisco, and Caitlin have all seen the newspaper article. At 2024, Barry is missing in the crisis. We know that Eobard's been stuck there. We have to assume that Barry's been stuck there too. Either that, or, I don't want to say that he's dead, because we didn't get any evidence to indicate that he's actually gone. He merely disappeared in quite literally in sparks on an electrical pole. So my question to you is, what do you think happened to him? I was thinking maybe he could have gone into the electrical system somehow. Did he sacrifice himself? Is it possible that the Reverse Flash needs to have Barry around in order? Do they both need to be around each other in order for them to have their full potential speed? I don't know if maybe they can work something out like that. I know that in the comics that they can cipher the Speed Force from one another. There was a cartoon movie where the Reverse Flash actually was able to siphon the Speed Force just enough that it prevented Barry from getting enough speed to go back in time and try to fix the timeline. So in effect, it rendered Barry stuck in a particular timeline, and he couldn't escape because the Reverse Flash was hogging up that Speed Force and keeping him from using it. Now, could they be putting a play on that to where in the series it's the opposite, that maybe they both need to exist in order for one or the other to reach their full potential? If that's the case, then maybe Barry sacrificed himself and entered into the electrical system and just dissipated with the electricity. Who knows? Because maybe he knew that it would stop the Eobard from being able to manipulate time anymore. But if that's the case, then it still doesn't make sense, because the younger Barry still technically could have been in danger. But maybe he knew that maybe the adult Barry knew that with him gone, the Reverse Flash wouldn't harm him, because he would be depending on him to grow up and become the Flash again in order to get away. If that's true, though, then what plan would he have had to try and stop him from going back into the future and traveling through time again? It's just there's too many questions. Just having Barry leave like that, and leaving and allowing Eobard to kind of control his life as a kid, it doesn't seem like Barry would want that to happen. So I'm kind of leaning towards that whatever did happen to him must have been some kind of an accident, and or maybe he could be trapped somewhere. I don't know. It just doesn't make any sense. I'm really lost right now, and I think that now that we're getting towards this climactic end here, where Wells is basically exposed, and they know that he's not who he says he is. There's obviously going to be a confrontation. We've seen the teasers with the commercials and everything. Maybe now they're going to start looking to find out what actually happened to Barry. The question is that it's just eating me alive trying to figure out what it is, because I'm trying to think logically about it, and maybe I'm overanalyzing it, I don't know, but it just kills me that I don't know what happened to him. I know that in the comics, during the crisis, Barry actually did give his life to save everybody, or at least that's what it seemed at the time. Apparently Barry can become electricity and things like that, and travel using electricity. And at one point, I think in one storyline, he actually even becomes the original. Towards the end of his life, he actually becomes the original lightning bolt that made himself the Flash, in one of the storylines that goes with that. So I'm thinking that really what happened was that Barry was somehow went into the electrical system somehow. I don't know why, or if he's still in there, or if he actually died, sacrificed himself and just became one with the electricity in some effort to make Wells be stranded. It just doesn't make sense, though, to do that. It seems more like a desperation move. So if you were going to do something like that, without a plan, I mean, I don't know. I would be a little nervous leaving somebody like Eobor Thawne with myself as a kid stuck in there. So either this whole thing was just an accident and he's trapped somewhere and, actually can't do anything about it now, or he's dead, or or he could have done it on purpose, and he's really just been somewhere this whole time, and no one's ever known it, and he's going to come back to face Wells again. I mean, Eobard again. Who knows? But let me know what you think. If you have some of the same theories, or if there's something different. Because I think pretty soon we're going to find out one way or another what's going on. I can't wait. And also, I think it makes me wonder: are we going to start seeing some time travel into the future? Is the Barry actually going to go into the future and see how things turn out? In order to start trying to find out if there's anything he wants to change. Is he going to start manipulating time again? That's something that we have to worry about, I guess, because that could be catastrophic. But at some point, time travel is going to play a role in this series. That's a huge part of the Flash. When you have time travel and there are multiple characters that can do it, we're going to see it again at some point. I know they've shown some teaser scenes of him saying he's going to go back and save his mom. So, maybe he's going to actually go ahead and start trying to search for himself or find out what happened to himself, why he's missing, and see if there's anything he can do about it. I don't know. But anyway, thanks for watching. I hope you enjoyed this, and obviously, if you liked the video, go ahead and like it. If you want to subscribe. I'm going to definitely be putting up more videos, and I hope everyone is having a good day today. If there's any comments you'd like to leave, go ahead and leave it down below, and you have a good one. I'll see you next time. All right, bye.